It's easy to be afraid in these times. So much is changing, but I am here to remind you that we are made for these times. We are made for change. Today, serendipitously, is Spring Equinox. It only happens twice a year, where the day and the night are equal. That doesn't happen too much in nature. Nature has a dynamic balance. It's finding balance within the messiness, within the apparent dysfunction all around us. And it kind of looks like our world right now. The truth is that we live in the garden of change. Everything changes on planet Earth. Everything changes on planet Earth. Our bodies are different each day. From birth to death, we are never the same. From moment to moment, we are constantly renewing and declining. These bodies are miraculous time-traveling vehicles for us spiritual beings. Because as we change and everything around us does, we can discern the eternal, what doesn't change. As spiritual beings having a very human experience, I sort of see it as a mortal game of hide and seek, with the greater and the higher secrets itself within us and among us. We tend to search for the divine out there, not in here. Our job is to discern God and discover the sacred. Prayer and meditation are essential tools for this journey. With them, we can see more clearly what we came here to do, what each individual here and on the planet came to do. This week, we're talking about the fourth principle, how prayer and meditation can inspire and, here's my little clicker, can inspire us and help us understand the first principles, the first three principles. But let's do a quick review of the last 3 weeks. It will be a poetic review, because we all need help. These are not easy principles to truly understand. We are deeply into the gnarly vicissitudes here, and we need to employ the help of poets. Our first principle, God is all there is. One presence, one power. God is love, period. Seems pretty simple. We are here to make of our lives a love story. But every one of us has a different love story. Yet there was only one. Millions of near-death experiences speak to this. When people come back from medical death, they say simply and with awe, "It's all love." And they start grappling with the ability to try to explain this amazing experience with very inadequate things like words. It's all love. That's the first principle. Many people, and I think Rev Ken has said this also, if we really understood the first principle, we wouldn't need the other four. Here is our first poet, Rumi. His wisdom as a Sufi comes from the mystical core of Islam, who knew 900 years ago how to count to one. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet each other. They're in each other all along. First, when I was apart from you, this world did not exist, nor any other. Second, whatever I was looking for was always you. Third, why did I ever learn to count to 3 in the first place? The second principle, we are God, we are divine, we are light, we are it. Tag, you're it. In another Rumi poem, he says, God is in us like an ocean is in a wave. Butterworth said this too, but he copied it from Rumi. The ocean is big, the wave is small, it's a mystery. That's why we need the poets. Our third principle, our thoughts and actions, our emotions all create our world. The truth is, we can't help but co-create. Hafiz from 800 years ago explains it this way in a short poem. God and I are like two giant fat people in a tiny boat. We keep bumping into each other and laughing. Yes, laughter co-creates. Love co-creates. So does fear. We are here to talk about the fourth principle, prayer and meditation. They are essential skills to understand and use all this power in inspired and poetic ways. So we might face our fears and move into the fifth principle, which is to do joyous action, that guidance received in the fourth. Fear is the problem. Even with all this potential power, we are afraid because we cannot access it without the deep work of spiritual practice. Evacuation of old stories that don't work, discovery of better stories, and basically getting ourselves out of our own way. Our spiritual practice can help us ventilate all the embedded fear in us, integrate the power, and focus our manifestation to what we came here to do, to action, which the world needs. Thich Nhat Hanh says this in his book, Fear. Even when human beings are most joyful, there is fear behind the joy because we're afraid we're going to lose what is the joy right in front of us. The world says if we have enough power, we can control things, protect it against loss, always feel safe, and the scary mother of all fears, never grow old, sick, or die. As a hospice chaplain, I know better. But I did spend my first two professions holding on so much fear, even as I had many successes. I had a landscape architectural practice in the Southwest for a decade or so, then a CD-ROM Atlas company in San Francisco for a decade or so. It seemed, looking back, that the bigger my successes in the world, the greater my fears of losing it all. Of course, that happened. Because what we focus on happens, right? At the turn of the millennium, it all crashed in, and I remade my life into being a minister, my third profession. The world asks us, how do we get rid of fear? This is the wrong question. According to Seth Godin, which I call him a spiritual marketer, really interesting guy, the only way to get rid of fear is to stop doing things that matter. Doing work that might not work, putting yourselves out there, or stop doing what matters in the world. No, the right question is, how do I dance with my fears? Fear is not the enemy. Paralysis is the enemy. And I used fear to do some of the bravest things in my life and in someone else's life when I realized that what I was doing was not what I was put on the planet to do. Not mine to do, not joyful. Steve Jobs, 2005, Stanford commencement address, 6 years before his own death. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Since I was 17, I looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to be doing what I'm about to do today? And if whenever the answer was been no for too many days in a row, I knew I needed to change something. Remembering I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big decisions in life. I did that. I looked for meaning and joy in my professions. But still, my strategy in my first two professions, because I didn't know any better, was to deny the fear, ignore it, and fake it till I make it, right? Fake it till you make it. Muscle my way through and shove my fear aside. Or eat it, let my stomach try to digest it all by itself. It's a great way to get ulcers. Or bury it in some other way. No dancing was involved. I did not really encourage spirit to help. I was intent on doing it all on my own. And perhaps I was more stubborn than persistent. There is a difference. Then at the millennium, it all came tumbling down. My house of cards, the business, my marriage at the time, my beautiful older brother died, my diva mother fell into my care. But the Unity community was there to catch me, guide me, but I was still full of fear. When my 11-year caregiving of my mother was over and she passed away, there was more fear. I inherited with her death my own fear, but the fear in my prairie ancestor lineage that she was holding for me. And I had to deal with it. I already had affirmative prayer down, but I had to learn about meditation to welcome and befriend the fear because I couldn't escape it. I did try. I had to look deeper at what my source was and be mindful and connect to the greater, acknowledging my fear, but not giving it the car keys. We all have inner children to act out when we get stressed, but do we let them drive the car? How do we find the courage to face our fears? We need the help of the higher and the greater. Here's Hafiz with a poem called It Felt Love. How did the rose ever open its heart and give to this world all its beauty? It felt the encouragement of light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened. We humans are afraid of being powerless, but I found that I had the power to look deeply at my fears. And with the higher perspective of prayer and meditation, I transformed some fear. I forgave others. I befriended a few. But I'm rarely controlled by them now if I do my spiritual practices and self-care. If I do that. I align with the higher each day. Here's a true life example of how I overcame fear from my own life. At 17 years old in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I was born and raised, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, body, mind, and spirit, that I would be a minister someday. But I refused the call. I punched the pause button because of my abject terror of public speaking. Yeah. Truth be told, I didn't overcome it so much as I outgrew it with spiritual practice. With prayer and meditation, we can invite the fear up to awareness and look at them clearly, without judgment, seeing them, naming them. Then, and only then, we can take back our power and get out of our own way. We can free ourselves of a lot of learning just by being present. We've talked about this already. Being present, the power of the moment. Being present, take a breath. Stops our focus on living in the past or reliving our wounds. Makes us depressed. Take a breath. Be present stops our worrying about the future, about things that haven't happened. Staying in the present, take a breath. We can powerfully and simply claim safety and peace. In this moment, I am safe. I have enough food. I am in this lovely sanctuary in a community of my peers. It's a magnificent day, and we are breathing clean air. It's spring, and we are alive. Imagine this week the 2 astronauts that came back to the Earth. Think of those astronauts that got stuck orbiting the Earth for 8 months. They thought they were going to be gone for 8 days. Being so separated from Earth for so long with very real uncertainty of if they would ever return. It must have truly seemed like a miracle to touch down into the ocean. Did you know that they were welcomed by a pod of dolphins? The capsule was bobbing and the dolphins were jumping. Truly. Look it up on the internet. The miracle, says Thich Nhat Hanh, is not that we walk on fire or on water. The The miracle is that we walk on this green earth. No one can do this for you. This is your life. This is to hide from or to live. It is your moment. It is your space shot. Here's Hafiz again, talking about the present, the sacredness of the present moment. Now is the time. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Consider a lasting truce with yourself and God. Tell me, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. We all have our spiritual work to do. And we have to begin where we are, with the stories that are alive to us and in us. Ken spoke of the misguided ideas of original sin. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his book, has some interesting things to say about original fear and original desire. Here's another thought experiment. Think of the babe just out of the womb. For 9 months, the baby had this cushy existence on a waterbed, being fed, breathed. Your mother breathed for you, but then your umbilical cord was cut. You knew hunger for the first time. You had to figure out how to breathe on your own. There were bright lights and it was loud. You were afraid. This is original fear. And you had to get someone to take care of you. You were helpless. But you wanted to survive. This is original desire. Thich Nhat Hanh says that all of our adult fears come from these fears, these original fears. But we are no longer children and not powerless. But we can breathe on our own and feed ourselves and maybe have some success. But we probably still think that we are sourced from the outside, from the world. That the next lover will make us happy, or that job, or more money will finally satisfy us. I've done a lot of inner child work. It's important to soothe that part of ourselves. But as spiritual beings having a human experience, it's important to remember that we are whole. We are not broken. We will always have an inner child who we need to take care of, to hold with compassion. They are part of us. We are not likely to get rid of them. Befriending them is a wise practice. We don't want to let them drive. Spiritual practice allows the adult you to drive the car. Spiritual practice keeps the car keys safely in your control. But even doing our work, the truth is we are having a human experience, and we are all knuckleheads from time to time. Personally, I'm very fond of the undo button on my computer. Have you ever wanted to hit the undo button on something that just came out of your mouth? Or you texted? Perhaps the inner child just had a tantrum and you were asleep at the wheel. I have not found an undo button, but I have found a cosmic pause button in meditation. We need a regular spiritual practice to gently and patiently move our spiritual umbilical cord from the world to something sustaining, to the higher and the greater within. We can slow down in meditation and pause, the sacred pause. We become aware of the presence, our source in the moment, and then and only then can we begin to take action in alignment with what we came here to do, the unique thing that you are. The unique qualities and gifts that you have. Allowing God to do its part by surrendering to what is and moving forward into change. Our final poem from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Wisdom from Tao Te Ching, talking about the spiritual umbilical cord. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother and dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings to you. And when death comes, you are ready. It's your life to live. Join us in doing our spiritual practices together. Take an affirmative prayer class. Grab a prayer chaplain. Get a prayer. Take a class from Ken. You will be amazed at how it changes you and your perspective. Start a gratitude practice. Visualize yourself arriving from space, bobbing in the ocean with dolphins jumping around you. Drop in for our noon online meditation. We are live there, doing it for you, 5 days a week. And most importantly, move your spiritual umbilical cord from the changing world to the higher and the greater, source of us all. Connect to holy ground for guidance and the power to act. With love and compassion, we make a better world.